There and welcome to the season premiere of NodeGraph TV. With me today, as I had last time, is Oskar. Please say hello to the audience.
Hi everyone, nice to meet you again.
Yeah, and for you who doesn't know who I am, my name is Carl. I'm acting as head of sales here at NodeGraph. And would you like to introduce yourself a little bit more, Oskar? For those who haven't
Sure,
heard about us
absolutely.
before. Yeah?
All right, so my name is Oskar. I've been with the company since the beginning. I'm one of the founders. Been working with QlikView and Qlik for quite some time, maybe for too long, some would say. Yeah, that's me.
Perfect. Thanks for the introduction. And for all your viewers out there, we are really trying to focus on learning on how to look into the camera. It's a bit tricky if you don't do that on a daily basis, but hopefully we can manage to do this during this session. I just realized I looked down at the table. I believe we have a presentation on Q, so we can give you a little bit of a walkthrough of what we are aiming to talk about today. And there it is, perfect. The technology is working. Sorry, I was mixing up a little bit of Swedish there. So please cue next slide. Well, what we are going to discuss and the topics for today are quite big, but we are also trying to aim them into as a narrow scope as possible. We are going to talk about NodeGraph, the NodeGraph story, and later on, after being doing that, we are going to share some of the outcomes of customer cases, which Oskar is going to discuss. If there are any questions, you don't have to wait until you answer them or until you ask them. It's just to put them in the chat, and we will try to answer them on the fly, or if we do that in the end. We haven't decided yet, but hopefully there will be a lot of interesting and tricky questions. Let's see here. First slide. Perhaps, as some of you have seen this photo before, or this presentation slide, and I want to elaborate a little bit more on what it actually means. So, instead of NodeGraph being a company that does data lineage, we have really examined ourselves, and we have also had some really creative sessions on what we want to achieve with this company. And all of that boiled down to phrases that was here at NodeGraph, we believe that everyone has the right to understand the data. And doing that allows us as a company, first and foremost, both in sort of the development and how we want to do this product to platform transition, but it also widens the scope because we don't only want to be a technological company focusing on technological stakeholders. We want to allow everyone to understand the data, and it puts a lot of demands on us, both in developing, in communicating, and also, I mean, what we are looking for in the future. Have you any thoughts, ideas on that, Oskar, or did I cover it all?
Well, I think you did, and as you said, we started off with a sort of a really tech company, and I mean, we are still a tech company, I would say.
Yes, we are.
Let's not try to hide that.
No.
But I think what we've seen during this journey, let's say two-year journey that we've been on, is that the value that NodeGraph brings to the organization, I think it's very easy to believe that value only exists within your dev team or the BI team. But we see the value with the data quality and everything. End of the day, it's the business that actually benefits from that value, and therefore everyone has the right to understand the data.
Perfect. And now I have to cue the next slide. And I mean, bottom line, what we are doing. If we just look at this slide, this is a recent study from KPMG. They did a survey on, I believe it was roughly 500 CEOs in US. And I think that these figures are quite dramatic. I mean, 66% of CEOs don't trust the data they are analyzing. 77% have concerns about the quality of the data, and only 31% feel that their organizations are leaders in data and analytics. And this proves something for us. I mean, there is a lack of trust in the data, and that is not only to be said from a technological standpoint. This actually lack of trust in data. What we do is that we ask a lot of questions, because we know that we cannot solve this entire problem ourselves. We need to talk to all our creative partners, all our creative customers, just to understand what this scope is really about. And when we are doing that, if you look at the left-hand side, those are typically the answers you get from IT BI development. When you ask them what is data, what does data mean for you, then they talk a lot about governance, they talk about structure and processes. But on the other hand, when you're asking the questions to the actual data user, they are talking more of words like, what data means for me, it means insights, it means decisions, and it means trust. So there are a very, very strong relationship between good governed data and good trust in your data, meaning that you will get greater insights and also make better decisions. So that's the entire idea and the very wide selling point for using a platform as NodeGraph. Now we need to cue the next slide as well. And from going from a tool to a platform, I mean, as we said before, we believe that everyone has the right to understand their data, and that is very, very hard to achieve with a tool. And it's not just actually the naming and the phrasing of what you call your solution, meaning that if it is a tool, it will only handle one problem. If it is a platform, you will allow, as I said, you will allow more people to comment, to help with development, and also to enhance the product. And that's very, very much more easy to do when having a platform statement. And we have gone and transitioned ourselves from being an add-on lineage tool 1.5–2 years ago to be a data quality platform, meaning that this wheel is turning all over again to get great governance, to get better insights and trust the data more. So that's the entire big picture of it. Now, I've been talking a lot about these different stakeholders. So, Oskar, would you mind to, because we have, so to say, centralized the typical stakeholders that we encounter when we do sell this product. So, do you want to elaborate a little bit more on that, on so to say, how the product is achieved in different types of situations?
Sure. And I think I've started off before as well, speaking about that when you first see a tool or a platform like NodeGraph, it's easy to believe that this is a perfect tool for the BI team only, right? It's a technical tool, and the value is instant for a BI developer using NodeGraph.
Yeah.
For a person that knows QlikView, QlikSense, seeing NodeGraph, it's a no-brainer that you should have NodeGraph. That's for sure. But then we start tapping into other areas for like in the slide here where we have IT management. Why do they? Where is the value for IT management having a product like NodeGraph? And then you have to sort of take it to the next level and understand the value for the IT management could be the owner of the Qlik platform or the CIO of the company. Then you have to start talking about values like, okay, we don't want to be dependent on one single developer. It's important that we document our BI tool, and of course manually documenting QlikView and QlikSense. That's I mean that's more or less impossible unless you have like this full group of people just sitting and documenting, because it's so fast developing. So there you have still, I would say, very clear value within the IT management. But I think the challenge is for us is also to show for our customers that the actual value is even greater within the business data user. because that's the person using this data every day. And as you showed in your presentation before, that what was it, like 66%
CEOs
trust the data, right?
Doesn't trust the data.
Doesn't. I mean, is that a problem? Yeah, it is, because we spend a lot of money, time investing in these BI tools. And if the data is not correct, that's a pretty big problem, right? Because we take all these decisions based on the data that we believe is correct. I mean, we might as well take the decision without any data, and we can save all this money we spend on BI. Right? So the real value is definitely for the business data user. And I don't think maybe that a business data user will use NodeGraph on a daily basis necessarily. They could probably do it, but that's not the case. But the value is within the organization, within the business data user, the people taking decision based on the data that they believe is correct. And that's where we make a difference.
Yes, and just as you mentioned, I mean, this is it's very interesting to see the outcome, because as we said before, we are a technological company. We have been more techy before, but it's also to see a tool as NodeGraph for metadata governance tool. I mean, what you're doing within the tool is not only beneficiary for the, let's say, the developer. The whole idea with working with a tool like this is not just to free up time for documentation. It's more about incorporating trust in the, let's say you can measure different KPIs and see if they are transformed in different ways, or are they transformed in the same way. I mean, some sales can mean a lot of things for many people in an organization.
And trust me, from being in the industry for quite some time, and I mean, the worst thing that could happen if the rumor starts, we can't really trust this report.
No,
we don't believe in this data. If you start getting there, it's difficult to turn around. So make sure that your data is correct, it's up to date, and the people will start using your BI reports in the way they should do it.
Perfect, thanks, Oskar. And I mean, to talk a little bit more about this, now we are aiming to discuss a little bit about user cases and how it's been in the past and how it is now, and perhaps also in the future. But I mean, when you get all this fantastic data from NodeGraph and you get this good understanding, for me, who is not a technological person at all, everyone I know can ensure that for sure. But it seems to me that this is a very complicated field to start investigating, and also it sounds to me that you have to do a lot of manual work, and you need to know a lot beforehand. How is a typical, let's say, an enterprise installation for NodeGraph? An enterprise meaning somewhere in between, well, I don't know, let's say 10 gigabytes of data and 100 applications.
Yeah, I mean, for an enterprise, first of all, I don't think necessarily the size of the data or the amount of the application really correlates to how complex the environment is. But when it comes to enterprise solutions within Qlik and using NodeGraph, I think if we start off with how customers used NodeGraph from the beginning, I think we really were very successful within the BI team. As I said, if you know QlikView and QlikSense and you see NodeGraph, I mean, you should have NodeGraph. You know that there is no other way of understanding the lineage within your environment. So that's a no-brainer. But I think what we've seen now for the last 6 months, maybe more than that, is that, and I think that's also with our communication, but I think it's more and more driven from maybe the controller side or the IT management. So like it goes up from the development team now, and it's a topic for the entire organization. So I think that's sort of shifting, and maybe it's our communication, or it could be also that the users and the customers are more mature, because now they know what data lineage is and why it's important to know where your data is coming from, if it's important that it's up to date and things like that.
Because we don't want just to be a new cool gadget for things to, I mean, we really, because if you need to get this entire flow and if you really want to take benefit from a solution platform as NodeGraph, I mean, then you really need to dig into it and use it, not just only to see, oh, this was very cool to see, now we can follow this KPI all the way, oh, it's correct. I mean, the output is more than the dependencies and lineage, right?
Yeah, and I think we see also, I mean, that's the same thing with every IT tool you use. Even though NodeGraph is, if I would ask you, it's like the most easy tool ever to use, right?
Yeah.
But it is super easy to use, and it is intuitive. But still, there's a threshold for start using even a tool like NodeGraph. We actually put this into a larger context in our within our BI development and process.
Yeah, and also I'm wondering a little bit about scalability, meaning how does a typical NodeGraph implementation works out? Do you start with the entire firm, or do you start with just a section? Do you have critical applications? I mean,
I think, of course, again, it depends on the size of the customer and the environment that we're working with, but and also depending on which module we are talking about within in platform. For instance, our test module, it would be, I would say, well, impossible is a very strong word that I don't really use, but it would be very difficult to say that, okay, let's put in every possible test case that you can do within your Qlik environment into NodeGraph's test module. That will take you probably somewhere between 3 and 4 years, right? That's
long
not how. So the approach that we suggest is that you have a test-driven approach. You find out that, okay, we have a problem with this ERP system. Every Monday we have this crucial data, it needs to be up to date, but for some reason every now and then it's not up to date. All right, so then you start adding this test case into NodeGraph. So you start small with the test module, and then you grow it over time. For the lineage part with Dependency Explorer, it's a bit different, because then it's fairly quick to set up everything. I still recommend that you work with smaller chunks in your containers and things like that. But you can more or less set up everything from the beginning. So it's
interesting stuff.
Very interesting stuff. This is what I,
this is what you do.
Yeah. I'm a quite boring person, by the way, unless you don't notice. So.
Me as well. So I mean, we can just cover the other topic for these user cases, customer cases. I mean, what are we seeing in future? What is the talking from a technical standpoint? What do we really see? Is there lack of functionality? If we do have that, that's, I mean, for me, working with sales, if there is so there's a way to enhance something, that's always positive. And if you do that with the market, that's also very positive, because we cannot sit here just coding and thinking stuff if that not fits the market. So what are your thoughts and ideas on the future?
Yeah, so the future for NodeGraph is we try to be quite conservative with adding features, because when you start opening up this area within lineage and testing, there are so many things you can do, right?
Yeah.
So what we do is that we have amazing partners around the world.
Yes,
we have fantastic customers, and the customer base is growing really rapidly.
Yeah.
So what we do is, or is what we try to do, is to invite our customers and partners to be part of developing this product together with us. And I think if we look into specific areas where we will focus more going forward is, of course, the test module. We think it's very interesting, the whole test-driven approach within the Qlik area. We also, of course, how can we, as we discussed before, how can we push the value of NodeGraph from the maybe BI management and BI dev team into the users even more? So maybe, extension in Qlik Sense where you can visualize the result of NodeGraph and things like that. So I think those sort of two areas that we will focus on, the test module, test-driven approach within Qlik, and also push the knowledge around the data to the end user, the business data user.
Yeah. Sounds really good. And let's see here if we have had any questions. Or if we covered it all. It seems like we have covered it all. I mean, NodeGraph TV, we call it NodeGraph TV because we think that's a fun name. This aims to propel both knowledge about NodeGraph, but also for an existing customer or partner. I mean, we will set out a poll after this, just asking what do you want these sessions to be about? Do we need to dig in more into the technical bits and pieces? Perhaps we can invite our technical director talking about the philosophy behind it all. So that's obviously up for you. And for those who are new to NodeGraph, you will see a link in the description because we really want to show that this works and that it proves real value. So if you want to run NodeGraph with your own data, just click on the link below. I don't know if it's going to be rolling here in the screen or if it's going to be in the description. I have no idea on how to do that, but click on that and then we can start talking discussions about value, your challenges today, and move the process further. I believe that this was the end.
Always sad, Carl. Yeah. It's always a pleasure sitting here with
premiere.
you.
Yes, season premiere of NodeGraph TV. It's always
don't miss
fun.
it.
Yeah, don't miss out. And for those who have listened, thank you very much for taking the time.
Thank you, guys.
And yeah, talk to you soon. Bye.